nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a podcast of music, style, sharing, good times. Group of friends hang out, share music with each other, an album at a time, take turns. It's like a little book club for music. It's fun, at least for us. Hopefully it's fun for you. I'm Petey Ray, your man with no plan. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew. We've got Brett.
Boogieing in the butt.
Yeah. We've got Drew.
These hands are small, I know. They are not yours. They are my own.
Yes. And we've got David.
Quick, Petey, ready the super sauce, and I'll change it to my super suit.
Of course, we're here to talk about music, talk about an album. The provider of the album this week is Brett. Brett, what do you have for us this week?
I brought Weird Al's Dare to Be Stupid, everybody. I brought Dare to Be Stupid, the third studio album by the Al.
By Al Yankovic.
The Al.
Yes.
I mean, who other... Yeah.
Yes.
The
Al
weirdest
Gore.
of Al's.
Yes.
Al Gore.
Yes. But yeah. David, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Well, what can you say about Weird Al Yankovic? He is a music icon, a musical genius, a should-be, if not already, Hall of Famer, first ballot, in my opinion, quite frankly. And let me be very, very clear. I was excited for this album. I couldn't wait. Some of these songs I'd already heard and was already familiar with, but getting the entire long play in its complete form, I was excited. I was hype. I was ready to hear the whole damn thing, Petey Rave.
Yeah,
All 33 and a third inch.
Yes. Drew.
But if you add in Kurt Angle,
What were your expectations coming into this album?
So I know Weird Al, and I have wasn't as excited as the Deech. I have my misgivings with Al. So I was excited to go into this and do what I normally do in a situation where I'm like, I'm not super pumped, and sort of pick out the things that I do enjoy, because there are things I do enjoy about the Al that is weird, and we will get into that.
Yes. Brett, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the theme song? Let's make it up.
Well, I mean, we're listening to this on the digital version. A lot of this I have memories of listening to over the radio on Sunday nights with the Dr. Demento program. So we're not getting it like the raw.
You've got to, Drew. Sorry, Brett. If you're gonna say, I got so worked up. If you're gonna mention Dr. Demento, you've got to say it the right. You've got to say
Dr.
it.
Demento, yes. The Dr. Demento, the many a funny five have I heard. But okay, like I said at the end of last show, this album was was produced by Rick Derringer, the Hang On Sloopy guy. This is the second album that they worked together on. This is the third studio album from Weird Al. This album charted. This album peaked at 50 on the Billboard 200. Like a Surgeon peaked at 47 on the Hot 100. This is back in 1985 when charting meant something and we were swimming in awesome music. This is, this album was certified platinum. This album was nominated for a Grammy, which guess who beat him? Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg beat him for the Grammy. Grammy Award-winning musician Whoopi Goldberg. No, but it was successful. Let's just say this album is successful. It is a parody album. It's mostly. But it has my favorite non-parody Weird Al song, and it's got some polka. Let's say there's possibly a theremin, hand farts, a duck quacking, like all kinds of the most important instruments. This isn't straight up accordion Weird Al, like alone recording in a bathroom. So there's production work here that is way better than it needed to be, especially on the parodies. They did some stuff that was so very similar. One Matthew Walton Squiggles, as we call him, was in my car, and we were listening to some of this, and we A-B'd a couple songs back to back, and we were like, wow, somebody put way too much effort into this. So it's not a very serious album, I wouldn't say. It's probably not the most important album, but it is a very well put together album for any album, especially for what it is.
You said there's polka in this. Is there a Weird Al album that doesn't have the polka medley? Is there one? Because I don't know if there is one.
They're saying it's a Weird Al album. Yeah.
I mean,
I can't recall.
I mean, of the albums that I bring, I think I've brought the most accordion to this show.
Yes.
between Al
accordion.
and They Might Be Giants, I think
fair.
we've accordioned quite a bit. And there's tuba in They Might Be Giants too, which, you know.
Look, if you're gonna talk about bands that bring weird instruments, They Might Be Giants is pretty high on the list. Let's put that out there.
Hey, nothing against tuba players. There's nothing weird
distinctly-
about a tuba.
I am distinctly pro theremin. I'm here for the theremin.
I mean, it keeps your cold things cold and your hot things hot.
yes. But yeah, David, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, first of all, Petey Rave, I think Brett said all of that very eloquently and very excellently. But I want to compound on the fact that this was very much an album of its time in 1985. The parodies are songs of that moment. But for the most part, by and large, musically, they hold up just about as well as the songs Al Yankovic was parodying. The original songs, that might be up for debate. But overall, as a complete package, I will say that it was great to see how much effort was put into this album. I think it was very well done for its time in 1985. It was a pretty enjoyable listen from start to finish. And it is cool to see Weird Al so successful at this point, because he's really never declined in quality. He's always been solid to excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Word
to your mother. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Musically, like they've both said, there was a lot. Weird Al Yankovic in general, I feel like, especially like from 3D on, really put a lot of effort into what was going on the album, and really like putting work into making it not sound like a dude just with an accordion in his room. Now, mind you, he's still like that dude. There's still a madcap sort of irreverent sense of humor to the whole thing, which is what I enjoy about one of the things I enjoy about Weird Al. The reason I have my misgivings about the Al is sometimes for me, the straight parody that he does a lot of times just doesn't strike me as funny as the style parodies. So if I was going to bring a Weird Al album, this is oddly one of the ones I would pick up, because there's a lot more of the style parody than there is the straight, hey, this is a song that you remember, but I changed the word for a word that rhymes and then made a song around that sort of deal, which is the kind of shit I really enjoy, is more of the style stuff. There's a lot of that going around too. But as far as the music goes, everything is super, super tight, and everything is really well done and laid out, even with there not being a song on here that has the style of another song. I think the closest you could say is the Madonna parody and the Cyndi Lauper parody are the closest you're going to get to two songs that sound similar, as far as like stylistically. But yeah, everything sounds really, really well done. The humor in it for some people is going to be hit or miss, but like, again, the stuff that gets into some of the theremin usage, as the there's going to be some B-grade sci-fi poke fun at. There's going to be, like I said, some irreverent madcap stuff, and that's the sort of stuff that I love from it. So from that standpoint, I can super see what's going on here. There's no question that this type of album, everything on it was well made, and it's funny, but they didn't take it as a joke. It's like, no, we are going to make this funny, weird album, and people are going to enjoy listening to it. It's not going to be nails on a chalkboard quality.
The weird album.
Yes.
A weird album.
Yes.
How has
I
that
don't
not been
get
the title of an album?
I don't get it.
Because it's
Yeah.
not funny, but it's a thing.
Yeah, but it's like
Get
the
it.
lowest hanging fruit there
I know.
possibly could be.
That's probably why it didn't.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sorry. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
No big deal. Yeah, I think musically it is a lot of fun. Like it just is such an easy listen. But yeah, there's so much cool things happening and so accurate. this is so much effort
Weirdly.
yes, so like so accurate with its like little points of like the different songs that he parodies. Yeah, let's talk about some of the key tracks. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, while it's not my favorite wheeled owl, the wheeled owl. I'm gonna have to have Daisy draw that up right next to the Smokadile and the Baradactyl. While it's not my favorite Weird Al song, I have to point out Like a Surgeon. It's one of the most famous non-Michael Jackson parody songs that's tied to 80s Weird Al. It's another example of Weird Al having a relevant career way longer than the superstars of music that he once parodied, which is there's something about the longevity of Weird Al that Like a Surgeon makes me very cognizant of, because like what's Madonna done in the last decade? Weird Al's still pumping them albums out. I Want a New Duck, not a quail or an owl. I think it's well known around these parts that I'm a huge fan of I Want a New Duck. Or all versions of I Want a New Duck. I Want a New Drug, the Ghostbusters theme. I love them all.
Wow. Shots
but
fired. Bum, 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 bum.
I mean, that was tried in court. Mr. Hubert Lewis won that one. But down to like the core, like I was sitting in the car listening with Squiggles, like, okay, Squiggles, listen to this. And like the chorus effect on the guitars, the saxophone, the parody is spot on, and it's absurd. Like this is one certified banger. Like out of all the album, like this is a parody to like it is timeless. Yoda, you gotta. This is a song that speaks to me because the Kinks wrote the song in 1970 something, and there was an entire decade where that song was played forever. And people didn't automatically put the lyrics to Yoda in every time they hear it play on the radio. I've never lived a life where I was not talking about Yoda while the classic rock was playing Me Lola. So this album has changed the world forever, at least in my circles. But one of the finest songs Weird Al ever wrote is This Is the Life. It's actually a good song. And the lyrics are hilarious in a you did not have to write that you're an upwardly mobile dude to finish the the turn of phrase, the crazy musicianship from the like Joanne Castle-esque ragtime piano to there's just a lot going on in that song that I enjoy so much, and it's not a parody.
The screeching guitar solo.
And the scratching records.
Yeah.
Yes, like it's 80s Weird Al. Like it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. David, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Petey Rave, I'm going to concur with everything Brett just said about I Want a New Duck. That song is timeless. That song is the hotness. That song is immortal. Cable TV. I will say that as far as this album goes, the style parodies didn't quite click with me. And this is one of those examples of a Weird Al album where it's rare that these style parodies and the original songs don't totally click with me. This one did. Cable TV. This one definitely clicked. Also, I want to point out that Yoda, if you listen to the last verse of the song, was pretty prophetic, because it was only a matter of time before Star Wars came back after this, and then Weird Al was doing songs about Star Wars again.
I mean, it was over a decade after this album showed up that Star Wars came back. But
Yes.
yeah.
Cable TV.
Weird Al Yankovic is Nostradamus confirmed.
Edie, what were you doing? What were you doing?
She was cable
clicking.
TV. And
Cable TV.
I don't get it.
we got it all on UHF. Wait,
yes.
wrong album.
Yes. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Should we do a movie review of UHF?
Oh, UHF has
Can we?
There's
Can we?
That would
Do
be
our
Can
lazy
super-
commentary episode.
yeah.
Can we?
When we can't record
Standard
for a week,
podcasting.
we'll just do a lazy review in the can, live to tape.
So my tracks. Dare to Be Stupid. Title track, so I want to mention it, of course. And this isn't parroting an exact song, but to be honest, it's a Devo ripoff. And Devo will always hold a special place in my heart. As
One
the
bad
second,
mother's ball.
they're the second best
Drew
thing
is a
that
big
Akron,
fan of
Ohio
the-
has ever produced. So
Drew
Yeah.
is also a big fan of the theme song from the show Rugrats.
Indeed.
That Mojo Jojo song.
Every once in a while, I like to whip it, and I will whip it good. But
You can
this
see a previous album where we talked about whipping it well.
God, Devo's so good. But this song like parodies that style in like a really, really cool way. The Weird Al doing the like staccato lyrics that Devo is known for, I think was really, really well done. The Kinks make a kinky. No,
Yeah.
Hey now.
they didn't make anything kinky. But they made some catchy songs. So setting up Yoda in that way this is one of the parodies from Weird Al that I can super get behind, and I laugh every time because it's like sometimes my favorite comedy is like somebody bringing up something that's once you hear it, it's so obvious, but yet you didn't think of it before. And I
lifted a rock while I stood on my head. Gets
It's like-
me every time.
that rhyme is like, okay, no, that makes sense. And then like all you have to do is like say the story of Star Wars in a really funny way, and it just works. It just lays
And
out
he
so perfectly.
did it again a decade later.
Yep, he really did. My. But probably my favorite song on this album, is Slime Creatures from Outer Space. The song, 1, is funny. 2, pokes fun at like B-grade science fiction, which is always something that I am down for. And 3, the bass on that fucking song. Holy shit. Like I was like, wait, is this guy? Yeah, no, he's just the guy that's been with Weird Al for forever and will forever be. And like just laid down like a just thick bass track that was awesome. I was like, oh Jesus, okay. Like this
Was that
is
the
just
guy
cool.
whose nickname was Bermuda Schwartz? I don't remember. I looked at
He is the drummer. John Bermuda Schwartz is the drummer.
Okay.
The
I was
Steve
trying-
J.
Steve
is
J.
the bass player.
Okay, he's the
DJ.
bass player.
Which
I closed
his
the window.
Wikipedia picture is the best thing ever when thinking about him playing with a Weird Al. Look that up because like it's like a
Mr.
Leif
70s.
Erikson type
Yeah.
shot, just like button up, deep cut, slight hair on the chest, and just like standing like with long hair, like in the middle of a field. But then that dude like plays still with Weird Al, like all the time. Like he's on every record. He's the only consistent other dude with Weird Al. Is his bassist Steve J. So fucking whatever.
Yes.
Works and the dude's good.
Yes. Yeah. Dare to Be Stupid is just a fun song. Like it is just a fun song to kind of just sing along to. And yeah, the parodies they work. But yeah, I think the originals work well. Also, there's randomly a cover of the George of the Jungle theme song in here.
Yay! I loved it.
It's like just out of nowhere. It's just like, hey, watch out for that tree.
Any
It was
Any
pre-nostalgia.
nod to-
Nostalgia.
Any nod to the Jay Ward cartoons of the 1960s is like 12 bonus points in my personal rec book.
Like in 1985, they weren't marketing nostalgia at every corner shop and every bootleg thing. It's kind of a weird thing that is on, because I don't know that any other album had things like that.
So, speaking of marketing nostalgia, poking around Wikipedia, apparently Dare to Be Stupid was also a single for the Transformers movie as a double A-side, along with
I watched it
Touch
recently
by Stan Bush.
Yes. I've watched that Transformers movie at least in the last decade, if not the last few years.
I mean, that's a solid soundtrack we could cover.
Yes.
Oh my god. If we do a soundtrack.
You got the touch.
You got the
You've got the power. Yeah.
Bit on
Bush,
the
of
nose.
Course. Yes.
I mean,
Stan Bush, of course, famous for recently working with Chikara to make a.
I was going to say,
song for that.
I feel like there's an Addie Star connection in there somewhere. I'll leave you finding that on Twitter.
I remember there was like I gotta look that up, but yeah, it's just amazing. That is a fun moment when like I gotta watch that movie again because I remember that being a fun moment. I don't remember the exact details, but I know I looked it up just recently, and it's the theme song to a particular characters, but
Marlon Brando.
Yeah. All right.
The Transformers.
The Transformers. With the Transformers and such.
The gigantic one.
All right, let's bring it back around the horn and talk about some conclusive thoughts. David, what would be your conclusive thoughts on this album as a whole?
I came out of this album remembering that Weird Al Yankovic is a fantastic vocalist. Throughout this whole album, he did so many different things with his voice as a singer. I forgot how genuinely talented as a musician and a vocalist he really, really is. He is truly gifted on a very, very high level. And very high level. The only quibble I would make for this album conclusively is that it is very 1985. And I'm of the opinion that Weird Al is at his best when you are listening to him in his current moment. If you are listening to a Weird Al album, you should probably be listening to the most recent one. If you were listening to Dare to Be Stupid in 1985, it was probably fantastic. Listening to Dare to Be Stupid in 2018, it was fun. It was good. It was nice to look back. It's a little bit dated.
Drew, what would be your conclusive thoughts on this album as a whole?
I talk a lot of smack on Weird Al. I will make fun of Weird Al here and there. And it's mostly good-natured ribbing and all. The dude's got talent. That I don't think there's anybody that will argue that. The humor personally doesn't hit for me all of the time. I think there are maybe 3-4 like truly great songs that I can put on at any given moment and just love listening to. One of them's like 11 minutes long. But that being said, he's someone that the humor's a bit out there and a bit weird and may not always hit because that's sort of the nature of humor. But the dude's got musical chops and there's nothing that can take away from that. If you like weird, nonsensical, like funny oddities, you might want to check out Weird Al at some point if you're living under a rock somehow. Like I said, I think Dare to Be Stupid is one of the better albums personally for me. There is something to be said about every kid, I think, finds he's been doing this long enough that I think there are multiple generations of kids that find Weird Al at different points of their life. I was actually talking to a friend of mine at work about reviewing this record, and we made the point that like everybody has the like, oh yeah, I got that Weird Al record when I was like 12 years old, and I played the shit out of it constantly because it was hilarious. And I think that's the case with a lot of people. But it's worth going back and listening to some of the other stuff because, like, he's been doing really good work musically for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a nice snippet of time to kind of look back at. This is Weird Al then. This was pop music then. This is style then. This is. I also love the couple of things like on Wikipedia they point out that it's the first musical comedy album on compact disc, which is really neat to think about. It was like the debut of funny CDs, basically.
It's a trendsetter.
Yeah, Ray Stevens
Innovator.
was happy that he blazed the ground.
Yes. But yeah, it was just a bunch of solid, really fun music, and kind of takes you back a little bit of good nostalgia every once in a while. Yeah. That being said, Brent, what would be your conclusive thoughts on this album as a whole?
Well, I mean, this isn't the most important album in history. This is still an important album to look at, though, because it's something foreign to what the music industry would pump out today. When was the last time you saw a comedy album that charted? When was the last time you saw
Mandatory Fun?
Yeah,
Fun.
but when those albums hit record sales anywhere near what any records sold in the 80s, I think it's been a long time since
Mandatory Fun.
What did Mandatory Fun sell? Is that a platinum album?
I think it is. I think it is actually.
Well,
and I think it even was debuted at #1, and I think it did sell really, really well.
Well, the industry is definitely not what it used to be, and people do not put that much work into comedy. They would put the money in other places and come up with it. This was a very successful album in a way that they don't make them anymore. It's not Hulk rules, but it's I like this for serious, not just for the funds, not just because there's the same audio from a Sonic the Hedgehog soundtrack. But no, this is honestly a very important album in my upbringing. This is the Weird Al. Like, yes, I grew up. I remember being in the 5th grade buying Bad Hair Day and listening to it and the Presidents of the United States on my way to Washington D.C. And Weird Al came into my life in a weird way. But I always got the taste of this album from old Dr. D. Mento, honk honk. It speaks to me in a way. So, like, you may not be an old fart like most of us, but there's some Weird Al to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not grapefruit diet.
Yes.
Or living with a hernia.
Yes.
I feel bad.
Yes.
I still don't understand Coolio. To this day, I still don't understand Coolio.
Hey, you
He
can have
apologized.
2 stars.
He apologized.
5-star
They
meals
talked
at a
it out, and
2-star
Coolio
price.
apologized.
Yes.
Coolio apologized.
Together.
Things are cool.
Yo.
All right, so let's bring it back down to the main event of the evening, the moment we've all been waiting for, where we wrap it all up in poetic form with some haikus, the haiku reviews. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haiku numero uno. David, what is your haiku?
A great vocalist. Impeccable comic sense. Just a bit dated.
Drew, what is your haiku?
Not really my taste, but there is a lot to like. Al puts in the work.
Yeah, putting in work. My haiku, that I totally didn't write in the middle of the episode. What Weird Al does best. A lot of fun and good shtick that does in fact dare. Brett, finally, what is your haiku?
One of my favorites. It's not serious at all, but it's very good.
Yeah. That, of course, is our conclusive thoughts, our collective thought on Weird Al Yankovic's Dare to Be Stupid. You can, of course, find this on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers the home game. Follow along at home. Do your due diligence and your due diligence, as it were.
Dude.
Yes, dude. Listen along. Do the marathon. If it's just your first episode, you can have a fun little marathon, a fun little binge. Just listen to that playlist from top to bottom. Take you on a weird journey if you just listen to it back to back.
Fuck yeah, it will.
Yes. Just kind of ebbs and flows. All the way from Mother Falcon. Also, if this is your first episode and you're going to go all the way back to the first episode,
I won't be here.
You won't be here. Also, that's like 5 years ago and like 3 mics ago, so please understand.
Yep.
I think I'm still on a Rock Band mic, but
yes, you were. You were on and then you had some wireless mic. Yeah, it was great.
It was some fun stuff. But yeah, that being said, next week we look so forward to the future. It's gonna be another album. It's gonna be provided by Drew. Drew, what will you bring next week?
Usually this is where I would go into some like weird, lame, dumb joke, and I'd try to elongate everything, but I'm not going to do that this time. We lost a good one recently, so I figured I'd bring Aretha Franklin's Lady Soul.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a good time. It's not going to be hard to think what we think, but, it's kind of
sometimes I pitch softballs.
Exactly. But this time
my shtick,
it's necessary. This time
I'm the one that's throwing the knuckleballs.
Yes.
That's where I come in.
Yes. But yes, sometimes it's for a good reason. That being said, that's next week, and this is this week. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. David is at DeltaJulietMike.com. Brett is at HibbityBirdBread, HIBBITYBIBBRD. Drew is at XJuciferX.
Criminal.
I'm at
I got in trouble.
Yes. So go to DeltaJulietMike.com or SportsOddsAndEnds.com as well. But yeah, the show is for Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. If you want to email us. Rebelli.net for this and other shows. You can give us feedback. Tell us what you think of the album each week.
5 stars. Give it the 5 stars.
Yeah, give your
5 stars.
Also,
Hammer that bell. I love it when you hammer that bell.
Also, give us review on the various podcasting places, including iTunes. If you can give us a good review, like 5 stars, that would be fantastic. We love it. We might even see it at some point if one of us decides to open iTunes.
Yeah. If you review us, you can take that review into your local Dairy Queen and get a free dilly bar.
Exactly.
Tell them that Patrick the Swagger told you to go there.
Patricio El Swaggero. At the Swagger.
We're gonna drag him back for some fun at some point. But that's it. Find us where you find podcasts. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los.
Toodaloo.
Mandatory Fun was Weird Al's first #1 album, and he actually did win the Grammy for Best Comedy Album for that one.
Whoopi Goldberg didn't come in and swoop down and snatch it out of his palm.
Yes.
No.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.